Hello, here on Over 50s Wisdom. You know that we like to share some wisdom from the over 50s and spread the wisdom around the world. But we also love to learn new things. And on today's video, we're going to learn what a ghost whisperer is. Yes, a ghost whisperer. And I have a ghost whisperer with me. This is my guest today. This is Ceri Conner. Ceri, great to see you.
Hi.
Hello.
Good to meet you.
Well,
Hello.
what is a ghost whisperer, first of all?
A ghost whisperer is used by teams, people. I've been used by the American police to get information. So basically, you're the middle person. A lot of people think you're a medium, a psychic, but you're a clairaudient. So you pick up on senses, sight, spirit sight. You can pick up on conversations from a distance. So you use a remote view tool. And I first started out, I'd done a radio show for a North Wales theatre. And a ghost team got hold of me and said, can you come along to a theatre event? And I said, okay, then. I was a newbie, I didn't know what I was doing. And they wanted some information on their event. So what a ghost whisperer does is you tap in using remote view and you extract information. So it could be clues, letters, numbers, and you piece it all together.
Now, what is remote view?
It's an inbuilt tool. You've seen all these ghost tombs. They use EVPs. They
What,
use
what are EVPs?
it. EVP is an electronic system that they pick up on sounds. So it's like a sound wave frequency like bats have. So
Okay.
they can pick up on any voices. If the temperature drops, you can pick up on how cold it is, where I have all that inbuilt. So we don't need it.
So it's not a machine, forgive me. So this
It's
is
not,
new.
no, this is remote view is clairaudience have it. Unlike psychics, they have a couple of senses. Clairaudience have 5 senses, so you can pick up on atmospheres, frequencies. You're born with it, basically. We're few and far between. I think there's about 6 of us in the UK.
And
And I met
how did you discover that you had this ability effectively to communicate with spirits? That's what it's about, isn't it? Or to get messages from spirits.
This is it. This is it. My grandmother was very similar. And my grandmother used to tell me, oh, the gift is in the family. You'll be able to do it when you're older. And I didn't notice it really until I was working as a style advisor for a department store. And a lady came in.
Right.
And I didn't know at the time she'd lost her son, and I had to fit her for a wedding. And come aside, and I said, oh, that perfume, your son used to buy you that perfume. And she said, how do you know that? And she said, my goodness.
And how
And
did you know that?
it just came to me. It came to me through just touching her hand and saying, look, we'll go get your dress. And it just came to me. And she said, my goodness, how did you know that? And she started getting upset. She said, my son used to buy me that same perfume every year. And I didn't go into it. And then I was listening to a radio show for D-Side Radio. And this angel lady was on there. And I commented, like I did with yourself, I commented on Facebook and I said, oh, I'd love to be part of that. And D-Side Radio rang me up. I'd done a radio interview with them on the phone. She said, right, we're going to speak to the angel lady. And the angel lady said to me, you've got a powerful gift with remote view. She said, you're a clairaudient. And this was through the phone. And I said, oh, really? I said, my grandmother said the same. She said, yes, use it wisely. You'll have an incredible journey.
Okay.
So it all started from there.
And how long ago was that?
That was 11 years ago now. So,
okay. So you kind of knew that you had this potential gift. Then it came to the surface. So then what did you do with it? How did you employ it?
Radio D-Side actually put the interview on Twitter, on their Twitter, the phone interview, and a lady went on my Twitter and said, oh, can you help me? And I said, oh, no, I don't do that kind of thing. So I basically got thrown into it. I didn't have a choice. Yeah. Every day it was messages. Can you help me? Can you get information for me? And I just got, like you do, you know, if you're a chef, you go into a new kitchen, you get thrown into this work. And this lady from Maryland in America approached me and said, can you get information? My niece has gone missing. And I said, I can't do that. So I got hold of Rick, my colleague, and I said, we've got our first case. And he said, what do you mean our first case? I said, we've got to help this lady. And I'd done it. And she put that on my Twitter and said, thank you very much for Ghost Whisperers' help.
Okay,
And
stop
that's where
there.
the name came from.
Ceri, you've got to stop there. What did you do and how did you do it?
I got maps out. She gave me a photograph of her niece. And from that photograph, I tapped into the photograph of the surroundings and I linked in through my remote view, traced with the maps. I done what's the things called spirit right, where you hold a pen. And from the location, I got the street name, a house number, the surname of the guy that the niece was with. And we pieced it all together and sent the information off. And it was spot on. They arrested the guy that killed her niece.
That she was, oh my God, hang on a minute. Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry. So she had been killed. So you had that
she had been
connection,
killed. Yeah,
that remote
yes,
with
yeah,
her.
yes. And he's in prison currently. They just wanted his surname so the police then could go to the house and arrest him, and her body was found. For me, that was a hard day. And then it just snowballed of people saying, can you help? Can you get information for me, please? And it's been like it for 11 plus years now. We haven't stopped with, well, I haven't stopped with information.
Ceri,
And you've just,
how does this work to you? I mean, this to me sounds like you can't switch this on or off. This must be every waking moment for you.
no, you have to switch it off. You do have to switch it off. You come, it's like a 9 to 5 job. You have to tell people no, and you cut off. You do switch it off, and then you're like, no, I'll deal with it tomorrow. Now you have to, otherwise, for your own sanity, you have to be in control. You have to be focused. You have to be driven. And I've been going to bed at night, and somebody sent me a photo of their daughter, their grandmother, and said, oh, can you get information for me, please? And you're like, no, I'll deal with it tomorrow, because the Americans don't understand the time zones.
No.
So just as you go into bed, you could get a message at 3 in the morning, and you have to be restrained and say, no, I will speak to you tomorrow. I'll send you an email, send me the details, and I'll look over it.
So you get a
Yeah.
case, you get information, you get locations, you
Yeah.
get pictures, and then you have
Yeah.
to sit down and focus in on that. And do you
Yeah.
meditate? Do you close your eyes? What happens?
No, you just have to completely be focused on that one project. I call them projects, because if you start using names or start getting too personal, you get attached and you can't show any emotions. You have to be cold. It sounds horrible, but you have to just shut on, shut off. So I'll make that my main focus, get all this information together. It can take weeks, some take a couple of days, some takes weeks. We're working on a couple at the moment that has taken 2 years, believe it or not.
Wow.
2 years to nab our guy, and we're getting closer. And of course, you get a lot of hate. You get the trolls, which I dealt with 6 years ago.
Yeah.
You get haters that say, oh, who is this ghost whisperer? She's ridiculous. I dealt with that on Twitter. And you just have to block and delete,
Of course.
because that, again, that interferes with your own mental health. And you just have to block, delete. But now for the past 5 years, it's been very positive. I even had a guy come to me from Canada to get information on a family that stolen money from his mum. So he said, can you find this family that conned my mum? Can you get the information to me? He said, I've seen your work on Twitter. I've heard from a ghost team that you can do this. Can you please help me? So we worked on that one night. It's just constant.
Now, Ceri, the messages you get through, first of all, the messages are only from dead people, from spirits, and I'm
Yes.
assuming. And then secondly, how do they come through to you? Is it just a sense? Is it a voice, an image?
I draw them through. There's a technique that clairvoyants used to use. You draw them through from the photograph. It can take a couple of days, but you connect in through the picture, through the photograph. Old soothsayers used to do it. Old mediums used to do it. In the 1900s, there was a famous medium that could connect in through the photographs, and people used to bring photographs of their dead loved ones to her, and she'd connect in that way. It's an art form.
So it is just
and
like
connecting
a
through the,
voice. Is it a voice that comes to you when you get the
it's
information?
it's the whole thing, it's the whole person. So you draw through the whole person and you feel what they went through. So if they've been stabbed, you'll feel that. However they've been killed, you'll feel that. So it does take a lot of focus, and like I say, you have to cut off from the emotional side. You can't, you feel their emotions, you have to be very strong willed and minded to deal with it.
Yes, and
Yeah,
that's a good point. How do you deal with it? Because a psychotherapist has to have a treatment to deal with the things that they're listening to.
yeah,
You know, they
yeah,
have to go into treatment every now and again. If you're literally
yeah,
sensing how somebody has died violently, you must
yeah.
have to treat yourself, or does someone give you therapy? Because this would,
I've had I've had good mentors. One of my good mentors is in Australia, and as a team, we all work together and support each other. I've spoken to a lot of medium psychics who I made friends with who go through the same thing. And you meet people in the paranormal world that have been through it, and they do talk to you. It's a good circle of friendships. So just through that network of friends, you're mentored basically from the time you start right through to the end. But the first couple of years, few years, it was very difficult,
mm,
very difficult. You get upset, you know, the trauma of it. But now it's like water off a duck's back. You learn, it's like training for a job. You learn how to deal with things. And I have a hot bath, and then it's family time. It's like any job, you close off and then it's family time.
and so you
Yeah.
have a really good network of like a friendship group around the world of people
Yeah.
with your gift that you can share,
Yeah.
because you can't share what you do with ordinary people, I'm guessing, because most people wouldn't understand.
No, they don't. But I mean, even locally, I found a local paranormal team that have been really good and really supportive, and they're, you know, even these Wicca groups and things like that, that they've been very supportive. But I've got friends in America from ghost teams. I've got a girl in France that I met,
Right.
and I went to meet her in Paris, and she's very similar with my gift, and she said, "Can you help me? Can you please help me?" So now, the past few years, I've been training people up in what I do. So I helped this girl in France, I helped a guy in America. Locally, I'm training a few people up. So what I went through, they're going through now. So I'm doing all that. I'm doing spiritual counseling and mentoring now to help others.
I mean, it's fascinating, and you must find it, I'm assuming, very rewarding as well.
It can be rewarding, as long as you're strong minded. If you're not strong minded, you will let things get to you. But I still sometimes myself can't believe it. I have to pinch myself
Yeah,
to think, how did I deal with that all those years ago? And still, when someone contacts me for help, I'm like, is this really me? Is this what I do?
yeah.
So it's still hard to believe that this is me.
And I suppose
Yeah.
it's a career that found you, was almost forced upon you. It's not exactly something you go to your school careers office chap and speak to. I mean, it's like something that you have to do. I mean, what else can you do if you have this gift? This is what you have to do. You're almost forced into it, aren't you?
Yes, I was. And through the help of that angel lady, the angel card reader lady, she mentored me and she said, you have to do it. And I said, I don't really want to. I've got a good career. I was a style advisor for Debenham store and I was doing really well. I thought I don't have the time. And then I quit my full-time job to do Ghost Whisperer full time. And I've never looked back.
Wow.
It's impossible now for me to have a normal job.
Yeah, no, completely. And so this is your career. This is what you do for a living.
Yes. Yeah.
And do you travel around, or do you do it all remotely?
I do both. I can get the information remotely, but sometimes I have to meet people. I've done London trips. Like I said, I've been to Paris. The next thing we want to combat is the American side, is meeting and greeting people in the States, because I've helped a lot of families in the States and they're like, come meet us. And I said, it's not that simple.
Yeah.
They think you can just go on a plane and go and meet them. I had a family that I helped in New York. Their son went missing, and I met his girlfriend, obviously, on the phone. Spoke on the phone. She said, please help find him. And they found him. He went through a terrible time, trauma, and they found him, but he was living. He wasn't passed.
So hang
They
on a
just
minute.
want.
So who were you communicating with if he was still alive?
Through the area that he was last seen, through the help of his girlfriend, with information of friends, I went over his Facebook, contact one of his friends that last saw him, where the street he was last found, and we connected it through the map. So it is possible to do it with somebody living. It's just a bit more difficult because you have to contact friends and interview them, and then you piece it all together. And he'd moved out of state. So they found him in Virginia, believe it or not, living with another girl. So that didn't go down well with his current girlfriend. So you get that a lot.
What about law enforcement? Do any law enforcement around the world use you or people like you?
Yeah, they have done, but I say I don't want my name to be mentioned because a lot of the people have gone to prison, or they're actually under, they're under parole or things. So I don't want my name being brought into it. So I always say, if I'm doing something risky, I will say, please keep my name out of it. Don't say where the information has come from. You have to be pretty ruthless. I became a very ruthless person in business. You have to learn business quick, be hard-headed. And I had to be the go-to person, the go-to girl, as they say. Middle person, they get the information from me, they don't say where it's come from, and they will use that then in their court cases to keep someone in prison or to go and arrest them. Yeah.
It is interesting that law enforcement do actually employ people like you.
Yeah, unfortunately not in the UK so much because there's a lot of red tape. We were working on a case a couple of years ago and we got stopped by the intelligence services because of the red tape. You're not allowed to go on certain land in the UK, MOD land. And what I did was I crossed those boundaries. I went on a patch that had crossed over to an army base, and we got told politely to leave.
And what about the public? How do the public generally take what you do? And do you think what you're doing now is maybe, it's an ancient thing that maybe in the Middle Ages and prior, people were probably much more believing of what you do. How do you find most people react when you tell them what you do?
I get good reactions now. When I first started up, it was quite horrific. With you get trolls, haters, as you know through work you do. Media sites are the worst ones for it, and now it's becoming more accepting. You have to prove yourself. It took me a long time to get a good reputation, prove myself within the fields, even with the ghost teams, as someone reliable. And once you start on that path, then people do become accepting of you. I think it's coming back around now where people are being more accepting to medium psychics because they're using them a lot.
I think you're absolutely
On
right.
TV.
It's funny because I was researching recently about something else and I came across this topic, the 19th century psychics, and it was much more accepted then than it is in modern life. But I do sense that a much greater acceptance now of what you do.
Yeah, definitely. People are coming away from a lot of the old style TV shows, and the more people are doing it through social media sites, it's getting more accepting and people get intrigued. So that curiosity will get them to accept you. And then once they meet you and say, okay, you're genuine, but it's proven that you're genuine, because there's a lot of hype, or she's a con artist, and I've been through all that. And then once you meet them, shake their hand, get to know them, they're like, oh, you're actually okay. Yeah. But I've been tested by people. They send me photos and they will test me, and I'll go with them and, oh, you're spot on. And you give a name, a number. How did you know that? How did you know I was feeling that today? So you have to prove yourself constantly. And it's taken me 11 years to prove myself. And I finally got to the place where, yeah, she's okay.
And
she's
tell me, before we go, I'm assuming then that you have a definite belief in life after death.
Yes, definitely. I've been through too much the past 11 years. It definitely does exist. I've seen too much, especially through the tragedy of it as well. It definitely does. Yeah.
Ceri, honestly, I love this new channel because I'm getting to meet some really very interesting people, and you are a very interesting person. I really appreciate it. And
thank you.
If it's okay with you, can I put your website in the video description so people can get in touch if they want to?
Yeah, thank you. That's brilliant. Thank you. That would be
Wonderful.
amazing. And it's been lovely to meet you. And we got there in the end. We
Yes,
set up the meeting.
we've had some tech issues. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ceri, what a delight. Thank you so much for being on Over 50s Wisdom.
Thank you. Thank you for your time, David. Thank you.
Lovely to meet you. Cheerio.
Bye. Bye.